My name is Joe Hinkle. This training video is on identifying or building sequences for HSA. We start where we left off in a previous video, where we've identified our xLights folder. We've identified our controller, which one is a HinksPix controller, and attached any slaves as required. The next step is to identify the sequences that were developed within xLights that we want to run in a standalone mode off an SD card. We go ahead and we select sequences and we add a new sequence. And we're going to pick the FSCQ file. Now, caution on what you need to do in xLights when you're building an xLights sequence so that it can be used with an HSA. There are two things. Number one, FSCQ type selection. Under settings, almost near to the bottom of the menu selection, it'll say FSCQ. You need to pick type 1. Type 1 is a non-compressed FSCQ. xLights has several other versions of FSCQs, but they're all compressed, and I don't work with one of their compressed. So make sure you've selected version 1. The other thing is under settings, make sure that your show has a frame rate of 50 milliseconds per frame rate. I should say 50 millisecond frame rate. Can't use 25, can't use 20, you want to pick 50. So in this case, we have built a sequence and developed an FSCQ based on a 50 millisecond frame rate and using version 1. We go ahead and select that. Now, in my previous version of HSA, which was written as a C++ program, I was able to do my MP3 conversion myself. But that version of HSA was not compatible to run on those people having a Mac computer. This version of HSA has been rewritten to make it hopefully cross-platform. This is actually Node JavaScript running in a browser. As such, I have not been able to find a robust way of taking an MP3 file and converting it into a WAV file. As such, I've got to put that responsibility on you. And this is how I suggest you convert your MP3 files to WAV files so that they can be used in HSA. This line here says, please go and download the application called Audacity. It's from this website. It is free. It is a very great tool for converting audio files between different formats. So if you were to go download that and run that and bring up Audacity, this is what you would look like when it pops up. Now what you would do is come into File, and you want to go to Import. Don't go to Open, go to Import. And you want to import audio. And you want to maneuver to the folder that has your MP3 file. And we're doing Carol of the Bells. You go ahead and select it. And there's your audio file from your MP3. Now you want to go to File, and you want to go to Export, and you want to pick WAV. You want to make sure it's selected as a WAV Microsoft Sign 16-bit PCM, which is default. Make sure you change where the location is. If you don't, you're going to put it someplace else. So I've got to go to my show. We're in demo. We're in Carol of the Bells. And that's where I want to put my WAV file. So I hit save. This is all fine. Just hit OK. And we've now created a WAV file. So now we can come up here and we can go ahead and close this. I'm not going to save the project. I'm just going to hide this because now we're going to go up and do our file, and now we have our wave. So we can select our wave file. We're going to give it a name. We'll just call it Carol for being short. So we've identified a short name for our sequence. We've identified our FSEQ version 1, 50 millisecond FSEQ file, and we've converted our MP3 into a wave and identified it. We can go ahead and hit submit. Now let's add one more just to go through the process again. We're going to call this one Frosty. We're going to select the FSEQ. That's in my Frosty folder. There's my FSEQ. We're going to bring up Audacity. We're going to open. We're going to import audio. We're going to maneuver to Frosty. We're going to pick the MP3 file. It's loaded. Go to File, Export, Wave. Note that is fine. Remember, you have to reselect where we're saving that. Make sure you do that or it'll go someplace where you don't want it. We're going to save it in Frosty. We accept it. It's converted. We can go ahead and close this. We don't want to save anything. We'll just minimize it. Now we can come back up and we can click on Frosty. Now we've got Frosty. We can hit submit and we've identified our two sequences. Now should we want to edit our sequence, all we need to do is go in and hit edit and we can make any changes and we can just hit submit and it'll resave it. If we want to delete it, we just hit delete. What I suggest you do is as you go on, just make sure you come up and you hit save control. That just is there so if you make a mistake or unfortunately if you find a bug that it doesn't crash without saving what you've done. So that concludes this training video on how to identify the components that make up sequences from your xLights development and make them available to put on an SD card for running your controller off an SD card from HSA.